Welcome back. I am Mike, and I'm joined here today with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
What's happening?
And a special guest is Lacey.
Hello.
Hello, Lacey.
Hi.
And today, do we have any announcements?
I do have one.
Oh, Matt's got an announcement.
Got a different announcement.
All right, what we got? Oh, hang on.
All right, this is for Miss Faye, and I told her I would do this. I made a off-color joke that I still think is hilarious, Miss Faye. I love you. But Miss Faye chastised me for a joke about a university of higher learning that I made the other day, and I told her I would correct myself in public. So I love you, Miss Faye. That's all.
All right, Matt. Is that her alma mater? Or like...
Oh, I'm going to let you take that up with her. You guys can talk that one out. I told her, she said, I'm disappointed in you.
He was speaking dirty. We were talking.
She's graduated.
Yeah, that is wrong.
Anal Roberts University.
Yes. You heard it, Miss Faye. That was not me. So
no, I was just wondering why she's.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
So anyway, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering why she was so upset about.
She was. She said I should have held it back, and I told her.
Yeah,
I tried.
I mean it's just vulgar.
Yeah,
and that goes right along today's topic of restraint.
Restraint. Yes.
You could see it bubbling in Matt's head the whole
It killed
episode.
me. And it's a character defect, guys. It's right there, and I have to say it sometimes.
Could not keep it contained.
No.
Man. That was so hilarious. Not that I agree with it or any of that.
Sometimes you just got to get it out and let the chips fall where they may. I feel like, so.
Well, speaking of, let's look at some analytics.
Ooh.
From the show. Yeah. No pun intended. I gotta get them pulled up. Jill has the slowest internet on the face. She has. What's that one they used to advertise? Hillcrest or something? No, that's
a cemetery.
Cemetery. Yeah.
Miss Faye's gonna take.
It's faster than her internet.
Miss Faye's gonna take your nunchucks and beat you to death with them.
It's faster than AOL dial-up.
Ooh, I remember that.
God, can you imagine doing this podcast with AOL dial-up?
We'd get a release every 6 years.
I don't think we would. Yeah, I don't think we would actually get an episode in. We have 178 followers, Matt. We're 2 followers away from
killing it.
Yeah,
I mean, we're killing it.
Hey, that's after 2.5 years, or almost 2 years.
Very awesome followers.
Next month we'll have 2 years. We've been doing.
We do have some. What are they called? Religious. Listen to us religiously.
Devout. Listeners.
Thank you.
Loyal.
9,492 plays all time.
Okay.
Our average is 30 plays an episode. But we average 30 plays, but with 40 people. I'm not where their math comes from. But anyway, so let's see. 73% of our listeners are male. 24.7 are female. 1.7 not specified. Oh, man. Now, Apple Podcast is 47.1% of our listeners are on Apple Podcast, and we don't even have video on Apple Podcast. Mm-hmm. And 40% Spotify. So we actually have a larger Apple Podcast following than we have a Spotify following.
Okay.
And then the web browser, 4.3. Podbean, don't know what it is, 4.1. iHeartRadio, 2.2, and other is 1.7.
Is iHeartRadio the Christian radio station?
No.
Oh.
K-Love.
It's Caleb, yeah.
I knew there was a heart somewhere. That's why I was like, well, that's odd.
Yeah, no, it's not. And we have, so I'll just run through the countries in case I have missed one. They used to put them in order, but they don't no more. So, you okay?
I'm okay. I'm just giggling to myself.
We're in Brazil.
Okay.
The United Kingdom, Singapore, Ukraine, Ireland, Canada, South Africa, Germany, Switzerland, Taiwan, St. Lucia, Russia, Belize, Kenya, the Philippines, New Zealand, Australia, Denmark, Bulgaria, Lesotho, Turks and Caicos, India, Italy, Hungary, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Colombia, the Netherlands, Mexico, El Salvador, Bangladesh, and Poland.
Wow.
Golly.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like traveling, and it was me. I went to
Yeah.
all of those countries.
I thought it was you on your Oculus virtual traveling machine that you have. So
What?
yeah, you don't know what that is, do you?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You want to see? Well, let's see what episodes. Obviously, our first episode has always been the one listened to the most.
God, we lost them.
Believe it or not. So, and
Went downhill quick.
you showed me not too long ago
Which
Matt?
one?
Which one?
in the clubhouse?
Oh, that was Phil.
Oh, Phil. So
okay.
I'll just run through the top few
That
episodes.
was like number 3 or something.
Okay.
That first meeting is number 1. Getting that sponsor is number 2. Life after getting into AA is number 3. And then going to any link to get it is number 4. Number 5 is Dickie's story.
Yeah.
Number 6 is Phil's story. Number 7 is Lacey's story. Number 8 is spirituality. And number 9 is Jill's story. And number 10 is step 8.
All right.
You'd think step 1 would be like number 1. Yeah.
We're alcoholics. We're just like, I'm going to just go on over to A.
Yeah,
check
and the
that
least
out.
listened to episode is our
Matt.
last one,
Duh.
the most useless commodity. We only have 10 plays so far, so I hope we're not losing listeners because we went to video. I still encourage everyone to listen to the audio version. Some of the banner has changed ever since. We're going to have to get used to just knowing we're being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully it'll, kick back in, but that's...
And two, that doesn't include YouTube.
No, these analytics do not include YouTube. You are absolutely right.
So we have pretty good. It's slowly growing as well. So we've got. I think we may actually be over 3,000 plays on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So-
that's pretty solid. So
Yeah,
it'd be
'cause
a
we haven't
little
been
over,
on there
almost
long.
12,000 something plays since the inception of the podcast, May like the 5th of 2023, I believe.
Was it really?
Yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, I could have looked it up just then to see when our first one was released, and I just don't remember. It was the first week of May, whatever that was. And we recorded about 8 months while I was living here.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually it was over a year, and then I moved to
It's
Texas.
been over a year since you've been gone.
I've been gone 18 months.
Damn.
Yeah, actually 19 months this month. The 6th will be 19 months.
Hmm.
So whatever today is today the 5th. Today is Cinco de Abril. So we're actually 30 days out from Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
My favorite holiday is Cinco de Junio, 6th of June. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
yeah, Cinco de Mayo is a big deal where I live.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for some reason. I guess they had a lot of people born in May or something. I don't know, but it's pretty popular over there. So is a lot of import beer. Kind of see how that gets affected by
Absolutely.
whatever's going on. Whenever a Modelo costs more than a Bud Light, you probably, or they always have, but now they're going to be like 12 times the price. But hey, it ain't gonna stop me if I'm drinking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's right.
I'm gonna put that 93 octane in my tank.
Any length to get it,
Yeah, we fuss. I remember that. Think about people be fussing about gas prices being $2.50 a gallon, and I was sitting here thinking, how are you fussing about gas prices being $2.50 a gallon when you're spending like $8.99 for a pint of
Yeah.
alcohol? I mean, seriously, like you could just
Way
the
more
math
expensive
on it.
than gas.
And
Yeah.
gas probably does you a little better. It probably in the long run it's better for you. At least you can get back and forth to the rehab clinic.
Ooh.
Matt, what you been up to, bud?
Man, mowing grass. Mowing grass has been
Grass
that
and
wonderful
kicking
time of
ass.
year. That's right. That's been it. Just killing snakes with lawnmowers and weed eaters, and they're out. And, it just gives me something fun to do while I'm out there mowing. I keep a watch for them. You ever see a grass guy out mowing and he's just driving a crazy pattern through a field? He's chasing a snake. That's what he's doing. So, but yeah, man, that's it.
I always wondered how you see these grass guys out there and they got on these like little tiny booty shorts and cowboy boots and
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Where is this?
it's like,
I don't know where you're getting.
you want to stop, Matt? Did you dress these guys this morning?
Man, let me tell you what. I don't know that I've been around that in 17 years. I think I would have quit.
That clearly was some like 1970, like Burt Reynolds mustache, short shorts.
Yeah, they.
And
tube
and a
socks.
button-down shirt, unbuttoned.
I
Ooh,
was about to say, let me find out, Matt. That's how you really dress.
Amazing denim booty shorts and cowboy boots.
man, I wouldn't last. I do know a
Chasing
dude.
snakes, all right.
Why is like Tom Selleck like just popping in my
because
head?
he wore them short ass shorts.
Yeah.
It had the big bushy.
Yeah, mustache.
But he wore loafers, He didn't wear like
Oh yeah.
It's amazing, man, how time passes, you know.
Yeah,
'cause
it is really
Tom
weird.
Selleck, he's up there now in years.
He was getting all the chicks back in the day, though. That dude was he's a good looking guy.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean, they named a candy bar after him, the Magnum. So that's pretty.
Wait.
Or is it ice cream or condom or something, but something they named after him. And then we recently lost Val Kilmer.
I'm very sad.
If y'all hadn't
Yeah.
seen that,
Yeah,
Val
I had a big
Kilmer.
crush. Big crush.
I tell you, the movie. I have a son named Wyatt. If that tells you anything.
Yes.
Like the movie Tombstone, I went to the theater and seen over 100 times. And the whole reason I did was because of Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday.
It was amazing. I'm your Huckleberry.
And it led me into this huge study of, the OK Corral. I've read Doc Holliday's biography. I've read Wyatt Earp's biography. I've studied all of that in depth, right? All of it. The accuracy of the movie was very poor. But the movie itself just kind of, I remember I would invite people over. I'd get drunk and just wouldn't quit quoting the movie.
That was me, but I was like more Dumb and Dumber. I'm sure they were like, Jill, shut the hell
Yeah,
up.
Dumb and Dumber's a classic.
And, this is the thing. Like that, the movie, obviously, Dumb and Dumber didn't win any awards.
That's unfortunate.
But people watch it over and over again. And then there's movies like Titanic that wins whatever, and people watch it one time.
I can't.
Or like Napoleon Dynamite. That's a cult.
Oh,
Classic.
and I don't understand why Napoleon Dynamite's not up there. It's an independent film.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made
John
it for like
Heater's
$5,000.
portrayal of Napoleon Dynamite was just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, just
I have cousins in that movie.
really.
They filmed it up in Idaho,
I thought it was
Utah area where
yeah.
my family is.
Yeah. Oh,
They were like,
cousin Rico, is it?
Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. Yeah.
no,
Throwing that
it's
pigskin.
not.
That movie was so good. And it's just funny how
I
some
like
people,
it when he dances. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You got some of those. The
My
pulp-
kids even say, make yourself a dang quesadilla, like his grandma did or whoever that was.
I say that all the time. Eat your food, Tina.
Yeah.
Every time I know someone named Tina.
And why did they have a llama and they were feeding it whatever that was? It was like a casserole.
kind of slop
So you know
off
what's
the-
interesting? Like I have a lot of family up there. My great uncle, Uncle Clough, he had llamas.
Really?
Yeah, and it was made over there,
Maybe
like
that's a
Mormon
thing.
country.
Yes.
And like I said, a couple of my cousins were like extras in it, but my Mormon great uncle, Uncle Clough, had llamas.
Uncle
And some,
Clough sounds
some
like
of the
a
people in
legend.
the movie weren't even in the movie. Like they didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't think they had a big, huge,
The
like
school bus scene, where
$1 million.
Yeah.
that was all.
We threw the guy out the window and it's dragging down the road or whatever.
No, the one where the farmer does something in the field to a cow or something about the same time the school bus is driving by. And all the kids are looking out the window. And if I'm not mistaken from what I've read, that is not scripted. Like the kids were all looking out the window at something.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they made it look in the movie like it was the farmer was cutting
It was
off
probably a liger, and which is
A
really
liger.
okay. So this is interesting,
Well, and-
and that's where my family's from and
Liger
lived.
country.
Well, and a lot of people in the movie are like, "What the hell's that?" I knew exactly because my grandfather talked about ligers all throughout my childhood,
Yeah.
and I thought it was some like mythical, creature, but that's very well known in that.
Well,
in that
too
part
bad
of-
Wes and
of the
Kelly.
state.
We couldn't get Wes and Kelly on the
Man.
phone. We could find out what part Liger plays into that whole region over there.
Yeah, it's
I'm going to be honest with you. The scene in the movie that I love the most is when they had to work at that chicken house and that old man
That's
paid
what
them
I'm
with
talking
change.
about. That something happened right there in the movie where a school bus drove by.
This
right?
wasn't a school bus. They go out for a job and the
I
guy's
know, I
like,
remember that.
oh, it must have been on the way then. I don't know.
I
We need
can't
to watch
remember.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
may
It's
have
like
to do that
the
today.
end of the day when they go to get their pay. They walk out
Yeah.
and the farmer kills a cow or something at the same time that a school bus is driving by, and I could be completely wrong. But it's those kind of movies right there that just kind of live with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No awards.
They're-
Nothing,
Those
fantastic.
are the ones that I'll actually have in my Apple movie library.
Yeah.
Friday is another one.
Lost
You know,
Boys
Lost Boys
will always be a classic.
Well, that's got some of the greatest talent. Kiefer Sutherland and the Haim, Corey
The Coreys,
Haim
the
and Corey
Coreys.
Feldman. and
Yep.
The one guy that played on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, he was actually
the blonde vampire with the permy hair with the mullet.
This is how I'll let myself go into a rabbit hole.
We have definitely gone down a rabbit hole.
I Googled that guy one day just to see what he looks like now and what all he played in and why. I don't know. It does me no good. The other day I was sitting in the office and we actually pulled up, my vision center manager pulled up a list of every celebrity born in Texas, right? And, you've got, of course, your Matthew McConaughey's and is it Jamie Foxx was born right there in Terrell, somewhere in there, or was from there. Selena Gomez in Grand Prairie, right there in Grand Prairie. And then there's like Mitchell Musso right there. And Post Malone grew up in Grapevine and like a whole list.
Well, I mean, it is the largest.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense geographically, per capita, but you'd think everybody's from California when you watch television.
Absolutely, or New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so some of that, I saw a commercial about Selena Gomez, and it talked about, her mother, and they were in Grand Prairie. That's where the whole conversation got started. Grand Prairie's like right down the road, where that's where, me and Matt just talked about. It's where the boat is in Grand Prairie, and so I didn't know that. I didn't know she was from Grand Prairie, And then you start digging into it even further, and you find out all these people from, you pass their hometowns. Whenever I drive home today, I'll pass all these people that I just named hometown. I can't remember what I was fixing to say, but it was pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, now Miranda Lambert, that's a different one because every single time there's a big pink billboard that says right there in Lindale, Texas, says this.
Oh, is that where she's
that
from?
on the way to Dallas?
That's
Where
right there on 20.
She has something down there, doesn't she?
In Dallas or Lindale?
No,
she probably, I
Lindale,
think she has a
yeah.
restaurant or some kind of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in.
My favorite one, though, out of everybody on the list, not that, anybody's any better or worse than the rest, was Don Henley, though. I mean, that's just, if y'all don't know who that is.
I really like his music. Don't like the Eagles, but I really like Don Henley.
The band.
Just had to make that clear.
It's what happens when they're 10 years younger than you, man.
Hey, I always flip the script. I
Still
think she's
singing
after
Baby
me.
Shark.
Yeah.
No, Don Henley, I actually watched an interview with him, and I don't get into that kind of interviews, right, where there's just one. I seen one with Billy Joel. I didn't watch the whole thing, but there was one with Don Henley, and he's just him on stage, and then he gets to talk about his life.
Okay,
right?
Between Two Ferns?
Well, kind of without that Zach fella. And he's talking about growing up in this little town of Gilmer, Texas. I went through there not too long ago, headed into Oklahoma. And the only radio stations they could pick up was this one radio station out of Dallas and then KWKH out of Shreveport, Louisiana, and to hear somebody say Shreveport, Louisiana, it's just pretty cool,
Yeah.
But the guy's just pure talent. And whatever happened in Texas to cause all that talent to come out of there back in the day,
What, East Texas?
Yeah, Gilmer, I guess, would be considered East Texas. I didn't know Dallas was considered North Texas till I moved there.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, I guess if Austin's Central.
It's 3 hours.
But I mean, when I think of North Texas, I think of like
Panhandle.
Armadillo.
But I feel like that's out west.
Amarillo.
Well, it's like northwest.
Yeah.
Armadillo.
It's up in the Panhandle up there, Amarillo.
A lot of people.
And then when I think of that, I think of Amarillo by morning.
got,
And then I think Amarillo means yellow in Spanish, and then just rabbit hole.
you got your also, you saw that show about that guy came out of Waco, David Koresh.
Well,
God bless.
Matt, that's the third time since we've been. You must
I
watch.
keep up. Look, let me tell you. And Lacey's here. She'll vouch.
He's obsessed with Branch Davidians.
I watch a few things. It's got to be about cults. It's got to be
Murders.
about serial killers in some type of way, or the mob. That's all I watch.
Well,
It's pretty much.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Every time I drive through Waco, which is not too
You
often,
think about
but
him, don't you?
looking around, trying to think, where did that happen?
Oh,
Yeah.
man. I want to go. That building's probably gone. They probably.
We watched it go on live television.
Oh, yeah.
they bombed the shit out of them people, man.
I don't know about all
I
that.
remember it happening, but I don't know. My mind is like, I want to go like there.
I've always been
to the
fascinated.
place.
Yeah.
If I can find the exact place, Jill, I will invite you all over on a road trip. I just got to find it. I've been through Waco. Waco's not as small as it sounds.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
You think it is, but I've been through Waco a lot, and pinpointing the exact location would be, and I don't know, kind of like when I went to Los Angeles, I went to that place where Sharon Tate was murdered by the Mansons, and I went to the house, the address anyway. The house has since been, but all these places are huge in your mind, but when you get there, you're like, the house.
Was he just picking on me about a cult, and then he brought up Charles Manson and
Well,
he went and visited the house?
Yeah.
So
well, no, and I get that because I went to Columbine when I lived
I've been to
in Colorado.
Very small
and it's just
school.
like, oh, it's a school.
It's Columbine High
small?
School is very small.
Yeah.
Yes. Me and Wyatt went
Well,
by
it's what? It's in Littleton.
Littleton.
It's it's a small little suburb of Denver.
Had to do a little time in Littleton, not jail time.
Oh, okay. So I was like, what, behind bars?
Training time. And me and Wyatt, I never went to Columbine, but me and Wyatt drove by Columbine one day on our way back from one of our travels through whatever, and it's just a little tiny school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little, and it's actually very small for a high school.
Yeah.
Like very, very small.
Golly.
Like it would look almost like a middle school, elementary school. It's just small.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was going to be something bigger because we come from schools that take up a whole entire block. They're
Yeah.
just huge. And it
like
wasn't the
that.
case.
I mean,
but
and-
yeah,
and-
I'll do like creepy things like that.
Well,
Can't help it.
bought Charles Manson's biography, and I read it, and it's really thick. I think the guy that wrote its name was Jeff Gunn. If you want to read it, he's wrote several biographies. You know, Wyatt Earp being one of them. But I read it, and then I downloaded it on my iPad, and I reread it, and I took my iPad to California, and went to every single place I could that was mentioned in there. I went to Haight-Ashbury up in San Francisco.
Oh, I want to go.
Drove 6 hours south and went to L.A., to Celio Drive. I went to the La Bianca's condo place thing. That was the second set of victims the next night. I went to Spawn Ranch in Chatsworth, which is no longer even...
I was about to say, it doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Does not exist. You go there and you are on a hill with a bunch of long golden brown grass, but this is where Spawn Ranch is. Actually, another very small place. Headed to the desert, to that final location that the family was, and that's just impossible.
Really?
I mean, I'm sure if I'd have had 6 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, but we had a few days. I was actually by myself on this trip. But I went, got the car, rented the car, went in all these places, and
I think that would be really
That's
cool.
kind of stuff like I want to do. I think I'm morbid. I'm also like a creep, so that just be
I
like
think it's the
perfect
fascination
vacation.
of the mental. Like that's why I like.
Well, behavior, human
Behavior,
behavior, and mental illness, and all of that.
Cults fascinate me. It's like, how do you get all this group of people to follow you blindly? I don't agree with none of that crap, but it's fascinating to me, the behaviors of it and the mental part of it.
Yeah, no one could pull that shit over on me.
It's
Yeah.
scary to me falling to sleep to hearing all these murder things. I'm like, is he trying to plan
It's a
something?
lullaby.
well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose focus on the topic.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Where did the time go?
Which is emotional triggers. So, and that is a good topic, though.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And talking about all this craziness and it's not normal to read a biography of a known serial killer and drive to all the places that they serial killed, right? It was pretty cool, don't get me wrong. But emotional triggers, and my sponsee down in New Orleans, Jerry, he actually, whenever I did my 4-step, he said, I want you to write down every single thing that gives you an emotional charge, good or bad, right? And so that made me think, because I'd never had a sponsor, he was my third sponsor. I'd never had a sponsor tell me that.
Yeah.
So, you start going down the line, and I had to think up some stuff, what really does give me an emotional charge or emotional trigger. But you are the brain guru here. What is an emotional trigger?
Well, I mean, it's anything that elicits some type of reaction from you. There's...
So if I'm hooked up to a machine,
Uh-huh.
and it's measuring my whatever,
Heartbeat?
and no, well, maybe
Oh.
brainwave, something, and somebody says something that draws me, that would be an emotional trigger, right?
What?
Like if I have, let's just say
Someone draws you?
when I was draws to my attention something.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I
bring
mean, this can
something up.
be
That, someone's
person-
drawing me. It would
person,
be nude in an art class. Never doing
Sorry.
that again.
person, place, thing,
Fucking leaf kept
situation. It
falling
can
off.
literally be anything to anybody. You can't just be like, hey, this is exactly what a trigger is, but it's anything that elicits a response, whether it's physical, it can be a cognitive, emotional, because what that cognitive cue is going to lead to the emotional cue. It is our perception about things, because it could be the same thing. It may not trigger me, but it may trigger Lacey. It's all about our perception of stuff.
And where do you think that perception is going to come from?
It comes from our environment. It comes from trauma. It comes from our experiences. It comes from everything that we've ever seen in our life.
So snakes could
Yes.
be an emotional trigger for someone who may have been bitten.
I have a fear of snakes.
Me too. I hadn't been bitten, but I don't like them.
Yeah. But, for me, my emotional triggers are run way more deep than that.
Well, let's hear them.
Well, I think, through many, many years of working the steps and really focusing on me through therapy and figuring out what was my main character, what triggered me the most. And I would definitely say it was self-pity. And that was the biggest trigger, but also I was stuck in it for like 20-something years. Probably more than that, because I was stuck in it for a lot of my recovery as well, because I didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
And it was all based on really one thing. As I went through recovery and I got educated or re-educated or whatever and got licensed and I started to create a career, that went away. But my biggest trigger was men, or not necessarily men, but relationships gone sour, because I've never been married. I didn't have children. I haven't done any of that. I haven't had many relationships, only 2 long-term, and that was like a year and a half both. So that's not a whole lot. And my whole life was me thinking something was wrong with me. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't smart enough. There was just something about me. I just didn't know what it was. And that was a huge trigger, even way into my recovery.
So you felt less than.
I did.
So-
Big time.
So if now, today, someone makes you feel less than, does that give you an emotional trigger?
Not really. But I tell you what, it can be little things. Really, I've worked a lot on this, and I'm not lonely. I'm not necessarily looking for a relationship. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. But, I got triggered recently. I met someone. We had a great conversation. I'd love to see, talk to this guy again. Gave him my number, and I never heard back for him. And for a second, I went there.
Has he heard the podcast?
Probably not.
He needs to hear the podcast.
He doesn't even know I'm sober.
Oh.
This was just at a friend's house.
Yeah.
And it was just talking about some, different stuff that we had a lot in common. But at some places, I just don't bring up my sobriety. But yeah, and I remember kind of getting in a funk for about a couple of days and thinking, damn, what is so wrong with me that they wouldn't text me or call me? So, and I was like, wait, hold up. Wait.
Maybe the problem's them.
Well, and I'm starting to realize that, I don't know, people may be threatened. That's what my mom would always say. I think she was just trying to make me feel good, but stop.
People may be threatened.
Well, yeah. Because I'm confident.
Yeah.
And I'm smart.
It's their own character defects.
Well, that goes
they
back
have.
to the cult thing.
Well, not only
right?
that,
Like
but
he was talking about, so if you show that confidence and show that smart, they don't want you.
yeah.
You
No,
don't-
they
you don't
want
fit
followers.
you don't fit into their little idea of
Yeah.
what
Well, and
whatever
also
should
being
be.
sober and being a counselor, I think that also can be threatening to some people that aren't necessarily healthy, which is fine. I don't need that in my life. I don't need time for the bullshit. But that is my biggest emotional trigger. And I've done so much work. I've done the steps on loneliness, and man, it was fabulous because I don't experience that anymore because I have found my heaven. I have found my joy, and I do that. Like I said, I'm pretty cool with that. But every now and then, it will pop up. Just every now and then.
Yeah.
And 98% of the time, it doesn't even affect me. But when it does, and it will for sometimes a couple of days, sometimes it'll be for 10 minutes, I'll cry and I'll get back into that way of thinking that I'm not good enough and something's clearly wrong with me, but I just haven't quite figured out what that is. But yeah, that's my biggest, and all vulnerability and all of that, that is what it is. Because I still can think am I too weird or I'm not crazy. I actually think I'm kind of fun. And I start going through all of these things in my head. What the?
No, I love listening to Jill. Jill goes, am I not crazy? No, I think I'm a lot of fun. I just laugh.
Well, it's just, I will sit there
You're a
and
little
pick
emotional trigger there.
I will pick myself apart, and then,
Sure.
and then I'll be like, oh, it's because I'm a little fluffy. That's clearly it. Seriously, And that's my old addict behavior and thinking. The thing is, I was out there, like screwed up and for so long. And it's a small town. I'm not exactly a southern girl. And so, it just is what it is, and now I trust God and understand everything's going to happen the way it's supposed to. But I had to find like my happiness. I had to find my joy and realize that nothing's wrong with me. God made me just perfect, just the way I am. And that took a long time to trust that and to know that. But to me, yep, right there, that's my biggest emotional
And
trigger.
Jill says all that about herself, but you go anywhere and ask anybody, and the name Jill comes up, and they're like, "We love Jill." Like, so there's that.
I mean, seriously, you could go in Taco Bell.
It doesn't matter.
Or go to a jail somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are like, "Oh, Jill, that's my buddy. Yeah, I love Jill." I mean, I've never heard somebody go, "Oh, Jill." Never.
I'm surprised
Never.
whenever I mentioned Charles Manson that Jill didn't say, "Oh yeah, my family used to be friends with."
He's my cousin.
Yeah, Chuck. Called him Chuck.
Yeah.
And Chunk's named after him. I'm just kidding. But yeah, and I can't tell you how many decades or how those thoughts right there almost killed
The
me.
less than.
I remember going to my sister's wedding and I had to leave everything early because I just broke down and crumbled because I watched my friends get married, my sister, I watched them divorce and get remarried. I'm watching them divorce and get remarried. Everybody had kids and I just was like, why am I the only person that's still just single and just kind of floating around? I mean, it almost killed me.
Yeah.
And like, that's just not okay with me anymore.
But you said it too. You have a higher power. That's their plan,
Yeah.
And when we can let go of some of that stuff and talking about other people, man, other people got character defects too. Yeah. We sometimes forget, we think we're the ones that have so much work to do. And yeah, we do. Mm-hmm. But everybody has work to do, whether you're an alcoholic or not. I mean, everybody to some level has things to work on, and we do work on ours, but not everybody does.
Well, and to be honest, if I wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that because I was in so much misery and so much pain that emotionally, I don't think I could have lasted.
But
I know that's what fueled my addiction.
But we do the what's wrong with me, wherein in reality, it can be
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, it could be the other way,
No, it really could be.
Yeah, and so it just is what it is.
Yep.
And it's just something I'm not fighting anymore. I'm just like, whatevs.
Lacey doesn't have any emotional triggers. She probably don't have nothing to talk about.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
So,
I mean,
Jill,
traumas, shit.
the past trauma. So for a long time after my car wreck, I held on to the shame and the guilt, looking like I would look in the mirror and I'm like, God, why am I alive? Like, I should not be alive. I should be dead.
Yeah.
Because I felt like
Survivor's guilt.
100%. Did not feel worthy, just like you. I went through that and it was tough. Like, I had so much to live for, but I could not see that. Couldn't see it. Like, I couldn't see I had two beautiful boys to live for, but I just felt like she deserved to live and I should be dead. Mm-hmm. So that shame, the guilt, the survivor's guilt.
Negative emotions.
Mm-hmm. I was very depressed. Like March actually just made 13 years. Last month was tough for me, but I did okay, I would think.
You didn't drink or use?
Well,
right?
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, but I used to couldn't, like, get out of bed hardly or anything. But anyways, that was a big thing for me for the longest. And then grief.
For sure.
Losing everybody, that's been a lot. But now I look at it like, at least I had my parents. I had my dad for 27 years. At least I had my mom for 34 years. Mm-hmm. Some people don't even get that.
You're right.
And then I would have to say the past trauma, the abuse that I went through. I laid in bed so many nights and I was like, why am I not enough? Why?
Yeah.
Why am I same thing you said, am I not pretty enough? Is there somebody else? Like, what is it? And it was such a toxic thing anyway.
Yeah.
It was horrible. But I had to start doing like self-affirmations. It's not a me problem. Yeah, I'm not perfect.
Right.
But they were projecting a lot of things on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do affirmations every morning after my prayers. Yeah. It's important.
It's very important. Yep.
Because I can slip back into that state pretty easily if I let myself.
Yes.
There was an old man at rehab. I told you this the other night. He was the overnight tech where I was at. And he would sit in the dark at the desk reading his Bible. Everybody's asleep. And I was in there real early on, and I was still not sleeping good and stuff. So I'd get up and go sit in a chair out in the hall. And he would just sit out there reading his Bible. And old guy, been sober a long time. And I was telling him about all these thoughts and all these things. And you're going through all that stuff. And he said, man, I keep it real simple. He said, when a thought pops in my head, I go, did my higher power send me that thought? And he goes, if it didn't come from him, then I know where it came from. He said it didn't come from one of two places. And he said, so you take it. And I was like, that's so simple. But even now, if it's something that crap that gets going, I'm like, where's that coming from? It ain't coming from nobody.
It's just stinking thinking. It's me.
Yeah,
Thinking, that's right.
It's complete
And
bullshit.
It's a nice thing, too. I didn't mean to say earlier, make it sound like it's everybody else. It's not at all. But I think when we do the work on ourselves, we are able to look and go, other people need grace to work on their stuff too.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Some people choose not to, and that's on them. We don't get to control that. But I'm a lot more sympathetic to other people's stuff and weirdness than I used to be, because I know that I have to work on stuff, and I've been weird and done, but the triggers, fear was always mine, which led to anger and control. Those three things, when I felt control or out of control of something, there's the fear, there's the anger. And so that for me was going, I'm not in control. This is not my show. I don't get to.
So the fear of losing control? Do you think if you had to specify what your fear was?
Fear of things are not going the way I want them to go.
Okay.
And I think it's from growing up. We moved a lot. It was always kind of chaotic. And it was like, you don't get a choice. You're just going over here. You're going. So then as I got older, I was like, I don't like that. I want to know where I'm going. I want to know what's happening, who's doing what, all this stuff. And when things would go like that and they didn't go the way I thought they ought to go, then it's like panic in my head, even though I may be calm on the outside at the time.
Highly triggered, huh?
Sure. And I've gotten better about that. It's just, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, and that comes with a higher power and going, he's in control of this. And I'm just supposed to do the best I can do today. And whatever came along was supposed to be coming along. And when I can keep that going, I'm good.
So what'd you do when you were triggered like that?
Yeah,
you
that's a
lost
good
control,
question.
When you felt out of control and things didn't go your way.
Depending on what it was. I mean, using and drinking, of course, but like you throw that into like relationships with another person and you're having a family, and it can be arguments, all that type stuff. It escalates.
And things aren't going to go your way.
Yeah, and things are not going to go your way. And then when it's an unhealthy relationship to begin with, and it's drugs and alcohol dumped on top of that, and it's chaotic and toxic, and basically you're two people fighting against each other anyway. Mm-hmm. You dump all that stuff on there, and it's really not. And so it just leads to this sick feeling. I don't know how to describe it, but just in my stomach, and I can get
sick.
Huh?
Yeah. You just did. You said sick.
Yeah. I mean, but just like, it's horrible. And it's like, I still check myself on that stuff. Sometimes I have interactions with people and I feel that pop of that. And I go, I got to breathe here. Like I got to walk off. I got to do whatever. And I'm not the perfect example of doing it, but man, I walk away from a lot of stuff and I go cool down, whatever that might be, or I just keep my dadgum mouth shut. That to me, a lot of times I just stare straight ahead, because I'm like, if I open my mouth, this is going to be 100 times worse.
Right.
And things tend to die, and I've learned to let them breathe. But that was my biggest character defect thing. I think it was just all fear based.
Yeah. And I think that's basically where anybody's trigger is going to come from. It's something of great fear and great pain.
Yeah. And the higher power.
Or you might just naturally be an asshole.
Well, there's that too. There's some that are.
There you go.
I've been called one many, many times.
I can't imagine why someone not getting their condiments at McDonald's is going to do an emotional trigger, and they're going to bitch everybody in the car out.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, is it really some traumatic event growing up that involved condiments at a McDonald's?
Oh, no, it doesn't have to be that, but there's something that anger comes from.
Yeah, I know. Trust me.
And it's not the condiment
Goddamn,
whatsoever.
I carry condiments around with me now.
It's
Was this you, Mike?
No, I don't
okay.
care. McDonald's don't matter. I don't eat fast food. But I have seen people to the brink of wanting to. I had a
Fight
roommate
somebody.
one time when I was a kid, or 19 years old, And he wanted to go back to Taco Bell and do violent things because he said no cheese and they put cheese.
Oh, well.
So, I mean, I get it, but, and maybe we're just fortunate. Some of us have real shit to worry about,
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're sober, Matt and Jill and Lacey. What do you do when you have an emotional trigger now?
I call my sponsor. I pray about it.
Yeah, pray. Call my sponsor. I talked to Matt about a lot too, and my clients help me out so much. Like, they don't even know. I go to work and they're thinking that I don't know. They don't realize, like, I leave everything at home, all my personal life, and I walk in there and they help me so much.
I think the lifestyle that we lead now and being around recovery is part of our life. There's so many things now that we can do. It's not always one thing. I don't call my sponsor on a lot of stuff. I asked him on something the other day that was pissing me off. It had been bothering me for a little while. It wasn't a thing you just rush out. And I went, this is starting to become an issue. It's starting to stick with me. So let's talk about this. A lot of that stuff now, I'm able to it just goes out and I go, oop, another day, I'm done. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
And I don't hold on to that shit.
Well, and the thing is, that's what I used to do. Hold on to it for decades, to where it made me physically, mentally, all that ill.
Oh, yeah.
But like now, it doesn't stick around.
Right.
And it was great. It's like, okay, I've addressed it. I've worked on it. I've done all the therapy, all the whatever, the steps and all of it on it. And it will come. My initial go-to will probably kick in. And then I'll be like, okay, hold up. You know what to do with this. And I do it. And then it's gone. And that's what, like, to me is just amazing.
You're constantly on a fresh thing. The drag and the old stuff, it's like, let that shit go. Figure it out and get past it. Because it's like, you're just a new person.
It sounds ridiculous that I held on to that
but
for that long.
But we don't know how to do it until we do it.
Exactly.
Right.
And I didn't trust it either.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't think you could change your thoughts. These cognitive distortions and things that I thought about myself were my truth. Mm-hmm. And so why would I change that if that's what's really happening? Because my ego, my pride is telling me this is right, even though it was like the complete opposite, which is also ego and pride. Wait, did that make any damn sense?
It did to me, but I
understand.
Not narcissistic, saying. But it's narcissistic that I am just the worst of everything or whatever. But it's, I don't stick in it. It comes and it goes. And throughout these years, it just kind of happened like that. It just less and less and less.
And I had to do it with myself as well. Like you just said, I know what you're saying, because we want to downplay ourselves and then everyone else we're giving grace to. Mm-hmm. I have to treat myself just like I try to treat everybody else. And I'm my own worst critic. So I don't get to beat myself up either. And I go, oop, I screwed that up. Let me try to fix it or make apologies or whatever it might be. But I roll on and I don't think about my own crap that's over the years either, and I go, I dealt with it as best I could. I'm moving on. And I had somebody the other day, a family member, asked me about something that was a couple years ago. And I was like, I don't even remember that. And they're like, I was so mad, all these people. And I'm like,
no,
nope,
not there.
Gone. Took me a minute to even think about what they were talking about. So
I know that I used to, I don't know, I wanted to get sober, but I remember in my addiction, like, I would stay just stuck, almost like self-pity too, feeling sorry for myself, like, oh, poor Lacey, all this stuff has happened. And I would just, like, stay in it. And I was miserable. And I carried that baggage for so long.
Sometimes I see people that are just regular folks. They're not addiction issues or none of that. They're out. And I hear stuff because of doing so much work on us. And I'm not the end-all, be-all for anyone that mental health-wise or anything else. But sometimes you hear people talking out, y'all may, and you go, God, they need to be in. Do some steps, like, and it's just like, there was me right there, and that has nothing to do with addiction. They're just,
I think everybody could benefit from doing steps.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more.
That.
But Mike, you've been awfully quiet. Tell us about your emotional triggers.
I think they kind of line up with yours. Mm-hmm. So maybe being made to feel less than.
Yeah.
Or even seeing someone else making someone else feel less than. For some reason, it just kind of.
I hate.
So I don't know why, because I don't have abandonment issues, right? I never have. My mom was right there, like,
Whole time.
yeah, oh man, maybe a little too much, you know. But whenever I used to watch cartoons as a kid, and there'd be a cartoon, especially I remember it was like an Easter cartoon back when they used to come on like only at Easter, and it'd be 8 o'clock at night on CBS. And there would be this little, like a bear, right? And his mom would go missing or lose him or something. And that, dude, I would think about that all night long. Like, I would feel so sorry for this bear, right? Never stop to think about, you know, it's an animated show.
Not real.
Mike was 48 years old. when he was watching
This was yesterday.
But when I was a kid. But growing up as a kid, I was made by my peers and some family members to feel less than. And that really burns my ass now. And to be quite honest with you, there are times now when I feel less than. You know, I mean, I have to get over it, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that. But that is an emotional trigger when someone tries to talk down to you and feel less than. For lack of better word, gaslight you.
Ooh.
You know,
They crawl like, ooh.
well, I mean, if you ever watch Star Wars, you know, and they pull up Ben Kenobi and Luke are in a land speeder, and they pull up and the stormtroopers go out and they're like, we need to see you. And they're like, and then the ultimate gaslighting when Ben Kenobi goes, no, you don't. And they're like, no, we don't. You know, and I'm like, you know, I didn't know that was an actual thing where people do that. And that, especially if someone makes decisions based on how they think I feel.
Oh.
When you have no idea how
How
I feel, right? That's an emotional trigger. That'll really actually, that pisses me off.
Yeah.
Just to even sit here and say that pisses me off.
Which is, hey, there you go.
You know, if you were that close to me, which no human being is, but if you were that close to me, I probably wouldn't allow you to be there. I mean, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
So you never know what people's thinking. I've said that before on the show. There's only a couple truths I really know, and one is you don't know what people are thinking. Had straight up conversations with people and found out the next day they killed themselves, right?
That's right.
So you don't know what people are thinking, but that's a big one for me. And then there's always the classic laziness.
Yeah.
Is an emotional trigger for me. Like, I don't know what the deal is with it. Like, I grew up being told I was lazy. And now I'm, 52 years old, and I've been working for the past 36 years every single day.
Yeah,
all day.
you definitely work your ass off.
And then I meet people who are lazy.
Don't
And
work.
that's an emotional trigger. And I don't even know why. It has nothing to do. It's none of my business. Be as lazy as you
I
want.
agree with you on that, though. I feel
You
that.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
be
Well,
as lazy
it
as you
triggers
want to,
something
but
in you, just
I'm
like
not paying your bills.
we talk about in step 4 and 5, you know, when it comes to anger, what is it about you that makes you angry about this? And
And
kind of look at it, and sometimes it's something we didn't like about ourselves.
The IRS is another.
Well,
emotional trigger.
That's standard.
But
across the world.
for a different reason, okay?
threatens financial security or
No, I'm not too concerned about that. No matter what happens with financial security at this point in my life, I've had a really good run.
you're like, I don't give a shit.
Worst case scenario is I end up going to a meeting every day and fishing constantly and eating.
Is that heaven?
Yeah.
I know it doesn't sound bad at
Financial
all.
security, for some reason, I get concerned about other people that depend on my income.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that might be in a little bit of emotional trigger.
That makes
but-
sense.
And I forgot where I was going. Where was I going, Jill? I was talking about
The IRS.
Oh, the IRS. So taxes in general, because I'm going to give you an example.
Yeah.
My grandson, born with a disability. That disability causes his mother not to be able to work. It's impossible, right? She's traveling. She lives in Dallas 4 days a week. She's here 3 days a week. He hasn't been out of the hospital since he's born. Plans on going to Philadelphia in a couple of months for more surgery. He is disabled. He's missing a chromosome. He's missing a lot of parts, right? But he's the cutest little kid in the world. You can't even tell by looking at pictures. I mean, he has a trach in his neck. No telling how long that'll be. But that situation is where my taxes should go.
Absolutely.
And she goes and tries to get some form of disability and gets denied.
For real?
Right, because, yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, and obviously we're not going to get off on that. That has
Damn.
nothing to do with being sober. But it's an
Well,
emotional
but
trigger
it is
because the amount of taxes that I pay, right? And then here, that's supposed to be for anyone in her situation, not just her, not just because she's my daughter. It just brings it to the surface.
So what we do is to help folks in this country that truly need help.
But that's an emotional trigger. Politics, I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
None of that does, right? But when I get down to what I make, and then I pay back to, whatever entity gets it, whether it's the state,
federal government.
and then sometimes I can even go down a rabbit hole with that because it's like my check gets taxed pretty heavy, and then I go buy a Coke up front with that taxed check and pay taxes on the Coke that I buy, right?
Right.
That's just, and you can't even give your money to someone else because they have to pay tax on it.
And at the end of the year, you have to pay taxes.
Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of, so worst case scenario, that none of that really even bothered me until we went through this whole being denied disability, stuff like that. So,
Can she appeal it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to leave that to her. And when she wants
Okay.
my involvement, I'm going to get there.
Sorry, I'll settle down.
Do whatever I got to do. But that emotional trigger. right?
Absolutely.
That's one of those things. That might be a real deal. That might not just be some kind of, like packets of condiments in your meal or
I
something.
mean, I
like
think
that.
there's justified anger as well. You know what I mean?
And I wouldn't even say angered. It's
Just
more,
mild
right?
irritation, frustration.
more of a feeling of like,
What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong.
yeah, like this is, and there's a lot of people. Granted, I will say this. So there's a flip side, right? This kid's probably gotten $2-3 million worth of medical care absolutely free. Her housing, for the most part in Dallas, is free.
Yeah.
So there are some positives if there's a positive side to anybody with that, a sick child like that. But there are some things that people, do right, but it's just, that's an emotional trigger, right? But my biggest emotional trigger is being made to feel less.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that's in my head as well,
For sure.
right?
For sure. So it's just your perception.
Kind of like you were saying earlier, am I too fat? Or you said fluffy, so we'll use that term, but am I too fat? I've been on a diet since I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And then that's part of the reason. My shoes, do they match my pants? Nobody's looking at me, dude. I'm an old man. But that kind of stuff, the actions we take to avoid the emotional trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
That was a good statement. I like that.
Seriously. And it's a complete waste of time.
But
But we're going to do it anyway. And millions and millions. So I was talking to a friend of mine one day, thinking about starting a business or something, right?
okay.
And they had a particular business in mind. And I said, there's two businesses that you're going to make booming money on and spend very little. And one of them is convenience, right? You go in a Circle K, you pay $8 for a 12-pack of Cokes. You go in a Walmart, you're going to pay $4, right? That's 50% more. Their cost is not that different, trust me. But convenience and low self-esteem, those two things are extreme money makers, right? Because they're taking action to avoid that emotional trigger. And people make money off of it.
But I mean, don't we have to do that too as well?
What do you mean?
In a healthy sense to avoid those triggers? I mean, I think there's what we're talking about is like you're talking about the unhealthy, but if we don't do anything, we're going to feel that trigger.
I didn't say I didn't do it. I mean, I still do it.
I know. And I mean, I think
Mike's like, look at these J's I got on right now.
oh, don't get you started with your shoes.
Yeah,
And you know what? I do the same thing. And they make us feel good, temporarily. And there's a lot of things that I've done to make me feel better about me because clearly it was me. Losing weight or buying certain clothes or whatnot.
The older I get, the more I understand these cats that live in a cabin out in the middle of the wilderness.
I just
eat like rabbit and sunflowers.
Pine cones.
Yeah, I mean, the more I understand them.
I
used to think they were old recluses or crazy. And now I'm thinking, we're the crazy ones. They just wanted to get away from it.
I find myself kind of just sinking into my place, which is not around other people.
Yeah.
Like I'm really like it. I guess because I have
Your
such
own
a
little Waco right here.
Well, what? I think I'm around so much chaos in my work. I just have to have so much alone time because it's literally screaming and just crazy shit It's obnoxious. I mean, it's crazy.
You know where I work. Trust me.
We-
Pretty wild up in there.
Yeah. And so like I have created my own little paradise, and it suits me, and I feel better.
Well, see, with me, there's not even a middle. Like I'm less than or I'm the greatest thing on earth.
Well, and that just described an alcoholic. You really did. We're all or nothing.
I'm both at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Seriously though, like it's either I'm not good enough or I'm better than everybody
Damn.
else.
Yeah.
And
Dang, that is
yeah,
so true.
But the moments of being better than everyone else are few or far between.
I have never had that moment.
What does Travis say? I hate myself, but I'm all I think about, or something. What is it?
That's it. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, it's something like that.
And, there's a saying, and it's been said by many people. I don't know who originated this or where the original quote came from, but I've heard it before. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? And a lot of times I tell myself that when I'm in a room full of people and I start to feel like a know-it-all. But then there's other times where I feel like the reason they said it was because most of the time you're around dumbasses.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's two sides. I need to go find a room full of smart people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it now. Henry David Thoreau or whoever, Ralph Waldo Emerson or Angie Dickinson or whoever said it. I don't know.
Who's Angie?
I don't know.
Charles Dickerson?
Angie Dickerson, didn't she play Maud or something? I don't know.
We're all like, who dat?
Yeah, she's
David
one of the Golden
Koresh's
Girls.
girlfriend.
Yeah. Actually, isn't that Homeboy's mama? What's his name? Anderson Cooper's mom?
Is it really?
Oh, no. She's Liz Claiborne.
Angie Dickinson.
No,
Right.
no. Not Liz.
She's 93 years old. Apparently, she's still alive.
His mom is like Gloria Vanderbilt.
That's it, Gloria Vanderbilt. Yep.
You were close.
She's one of the Vanderbilts.
Angie Dickerson.
Angie Dickerson is a retired American actress and former beauty queen. Dickinson is best known for her role in the 1970s drama series Policewoman. The
Oh my God,
80s
who watched that?
I would say I did not.
I used to
never
wa-
even
I
heard
used to
of it.
watch Chips, bro.
Oh, I
Chip-
love Chips.
Ponch and John.
Yeah, baby.
Eric Estrada
They
and
had
that other
heard
guy.
They had motorcycles.
Nobody
They were
knows.
motorcycle
What's that?
cops.
Kind of like the drummer for most bands. I mean, everybody in the band, but nobody knows the drummer. But it was Eric Estrada and
That other dude.
John.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I just like their boots, man.
Yeah.
They had those boots.
Sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had it's kind of like the Royal Canadian Police, but they have the puffy pants in the boots.
Yeah.
So it looks like they like kind of hippie from the side.
Yeah, that was a good show, man.
That was a good show. And something came on. Y'all remember, like, what was that movie? Not show. It was like, oh, man. They just remade it not too long ago.
Miami
Fall Guy.
Vice.
I hadn't seen
Oh,
that.
that was good.
Fall Guy.
No, I'm thinking
Yeah.
of Fallout.
No. Fall Guy had not Robert Redford, but anyway, it was a good show back in the 80s.
I was
Yeah.
more of a Knight Rider kind of.
That was good. Do
Yeah,
you
that
know
was
the voice of Knight Rider was also Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World?
I loved
Oh,
Boy
I've
Meets
never-
World.
I've
Mr.
never-
Feeney was a teacher.
Yeah, I've never seen
That
it.
he was the voice of Knight Rider. And once you hear that, if you ever watch both, you can't undo it, man. It is
Dukes of Hazzard was my main jam, though, as
yeah,
a
that was
kid.
good stuff. Friday
Yeah.
nights, that was our Friday nights consisted of Dukes of Hazzard and then Dallas. Like
Yeah,
we had to watch back to back, And I grew up in the whole Who Shot JR era. That was a big deal, man. Like,
I remember watching
they had
that,
the Who
too.
Shot JR Happy Meal, when you go to it was huge, man. It was one of the biggest things on earth. Right?
It really was a big deal.
Bro, if you didn't have a Dukes of Hazzard metal lunchbox when you rolled to school when I was a kid, what are you
Metal?
doing with your life? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, they were metal.
Really?
Yeah, and
with the
probably
General
made
Lee
out
on
of
'em.
real lead. Like,
And asbestos.
yeah.
A lot of asbestos in that thing.
We still use plastic straws back then. You
Yeah,
know that?
yeah.
We don't use them.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what the
McDonald's
rules.
made the switch.
I don't know
That's
what the
when you
rules
could buy
are.
candy cigarettes at the store
Oh
as a
man,
kid.
so cool.
That's where I
candy.
got my start. Was candy cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't light them.
I
yeah,
would
they
do
would
the-
not
well,
like
You
hard
put them in a
smoke.
spoon, you could melt them.
Let me tell you, most 80s girls were doing the Sandra D thingy when she took the puff and then threw it and then
Oh, from Greece.
from Greece. Absolutely, that's what we were doing with those candy cigarettes.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Stud. Dun, 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 dun. That's a good show, too.
That was a good show.
I got to admit, I don't like movies where people break out singing. I can't forget.
Oh, I
That
love
was a
it.
good one.
But Grease was one. That's a classic.
Grease I can handle. I can't handle a lot of them, but I
Dirty
can
Dancing,
Grease.
too.
Never seen it. Never seen Dirty
Really?
Dancing. Mm-mm.
That's unheard of.
No, I've
For
never
someone
seen
your
it.
age,
No,
that's
I've never
unheard
seen
of.
Top Gun.
Tom Cruise doesn't
Never seen
like any
some
of his
other
movies.
stuff. I remember we used to watch Wizard of Oz once a year. It would come
We
on
did too. It came on TV.
one
Yeah.
time a year, every year.
Why? Kind of like Charlie Brown's Christmas
Well, that
Yeah.
or the Pumpkin Patch.
yeah, yeah. And Easter Sunday, we went to Arkansas, South Arkansas, right there on the border, which as a kid was a long way away. But we would go up to Arkansas, and then we would come back just in time to watch those not Jesus movies, but like Moses and all them
Yeah.
with Charlton Heston.
Yeah, I never watched any of them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good
I wasn't
stuff.
raised
And,
watching that stuff.
Well, we kind of didn't have choice. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And then hopefully Airplane would come on at night, Timmy, you watch Gladiator movies? That was a good movie too. Oh man. Any more emotional triggers we can think of?
There's so many of them.
Yeah, I could
we
do-
don't have all day.
Yeah.
Well, actually we do. It's raining here. And,
I
we
got
might not
the,
have that much hard drive space.
Yeah, I got the big one out of the way. I mean, fear, that's what I kind of got back to was fear was the root of everything else.
And it was the root of mine.
Fear's the root of mine. If you read the big book, though, it talks about that. Fear of losing what you have or it's 12 and 12. Fear of losing what you have or fear of not getting what you want
Yeah.
is a big one, And to be quite honest with you, I don't even know what I have. So why would I be fearful of losing it? But I am. I don't want to lose.
I think everybody struggles with fear.
Yeah.
Mine also, I would say, is abandonment issues because everybody has always died or left.
And that's fear based.
Yeah, I
So
know.
fear
Yeah.
just tends to,
Well, and it's a natural
branches
human
out.
emotion that we've had since beginning of time. That's what tells
Yeah.
us to run or fight. That's our fight or flight, that no one doesn't have it.
Just fear.
Unless
Fear's just fear.
They were born without an amygdala, and I just don't know if that will work.
So what about the psychopaths or the sociopaths? Or do they still have fear?
I'd like to think so. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'd like to think
I
so
don't
too.
think
Well, and I think maybe
Tell
they're
Jason Voorhees that. I mean, what was he scared of?
I don't know. Why is he killing everybody? He's scared of something.
People on his
Or
land?
just angry.
But
at
anger
that.
stems from fear.
True.
Yeah.
True that.
Yeah, it's all about the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear. So we go forth fearless
Oh, let's do it. I'm in.
today.
not like Charles Manson.
But in all honesty, so I think for me, can't speak for anybody else, I think the worst thing I can do is pretend that I don't have fear.
Absolutely.
Pretend I don't have emotional triggers. Pretend something doesn't bother me, right? That don't mean I have to announce it in a corporate meeting that I think everybody's lazy.
Right.
No, but I mean, like, it's important. You need
Again.
those are the kind of things that keep us sick, and
I feel
those are
you on
the
that.
kind of things that we'll lose our sobriety over or our life.
Yeah.
And these are things that we need to get out in the fourth and fifth step.
And I think actually getting sober back when I did, part of the reason was the fear of actually losing my life because I had just seen it passing in front of my eyes. Like, this is why I'm going to get sober right here. Because it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about marriage, kids, none of that. It was just, obviously I didn't want to lose my kids. They were a big part of it. But they weren't big enough for me to stop until I had the fear of losing my life.
Right.
And
Makes
then you're
sense.
like, this is real. Like, this is a real deal.
Yeah, this isn't working.
I could actually, this is going down way faster than,
Yep.
it's kind of like if something happens and you're in an accident or, and you're like, oh, crap, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Are you beefing over there?
I got stabbed one time.
Stretching.
I got stabbed in the groin.
What?
Yeah, I stabbed myself, actually.
Oh, I was-
and
oh.
freak accident cutting some brownies. And I remember, like, when I yanked the knife out, blood starts spraying and all across the kitchen and living room. And I remember thinking, this is the real deal, man.
Yeah, this is it.
It's the real. You got to have that shit right there. I'm like, I don't know. Well, obviously, it didn't turn out the way I thought it was that night. But that was probably the only other time I feared that I was fixing to, Well, then there was a side of the mountain in California, but that was a long story. But
I've had a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, you were out there, Jill.
Well,
I mean, yes, you were eating some porridge and 3 bears showed back up.
oh no, there was some a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
That got up to the
but
head.
it was that fear. It was that fear. So, well, anything else on emotional triggers, gang?
Not for me.
We could, but we're not.
Yeah.
Could, but we're not.
Save it for another day.
Most important thing is we do something about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before it gets out of hand and causes us to go drink, and then you got a shitload of problems, and you still got your emotional triggers.
Yep. Sure do.
So anyway, thank you, Lacey, for stopping by.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to wrap up another episode from Bossier City, Louisiana. We have been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.